Well, as an Olympian, you can imagine I was always interested in sport. And when the announcement came that there was going to be an Institute of Sport, I really wanted to be part of it. At the time, I was working with UK Athletics as an anti-doping coordinator, on a voluntary basis. And then I moved to the Paralympic Association. I was working with them. Then a job came up in the EIS as a lifestyle advisor, and I went for an interview with Margaret Hicks, and she took me on, and I've been with the EIS ever since. Well, the vision of the EIS is to be the world leading provider for sports science medicine. And in order for us to achieve that, we've got a number of experts within our organisation that do that. My role as operations manager is to look after the facilities based in London. We've got one here at Lee Valley, we've got the Lee Valley Whitewater Park, we've got a central site on Tottenham Court Road, the Institute of Health and Exercise Science. We've also got the badminton centre in Milton Keynes. And my role is to make sure that all the facilities are in place for our strength and conditioning, our physios, our doctors, or soft tissue therapists, our nutritionists, to make sure that they've got the facilities to provide the services for the athletes. Gosh, you learn so much as an elite athlete. One is negotiation. You negotiate with your coach, you negotiate about your training, about your schedule, you negotiate about funding, and in the current status where athletes get lottery funding, there's lots of negotiation that takes place. For me, what I transferred was my negotiation skills, my ability to adapt, also to be able to influence decisions that are beneficial for me in my career, also the ability to create an environment that I could work in that's effective for me. So if I was training and the weather was really terrible and I knew I wasn't going to get the times that I wanted to get in that training session, I would try and negotiate with my coach to change those changing schedule so that I could get the best out of the session. Also, things that people take for granted as athletes: planning your flights, making sure you're there on time, making sure you check that you've got your passport. You transfer all those skills to your everyday job to make sure that you're doing the right things. And you can't please everybody, and you're not going to get everything right. So when you get things wrong, instead of focusing on what's wrong, you look to see how can you make this better. And that's what I try and do in my job. The head of our organisation is Nigel Walker. He's also an Olympian. Steve Cram was our chairman for a while, from the start of the EIS, and he's also an Olympian. Karen Pickering, she's also an Olympian. I think it sends the message out there that they're serious about what they're doing, and that the individuals that are involved have got previous experiences. They know what athletes want. They know the troubles and the tribulations and the challenges that athletes go through. And I think in the decision making, all these people that have been involved with the EIS and some that are currently involved, because we've got a number of staff that are also Olympians, and they also understand what Olympians are going through and what sports people are aiming to do and how to help them. Oh dear, I don't think I've got one single one, but I think a single person that influenced me in my work was a lady called Margaret Hicks, and she was my first line manager in the English Institute of Sport, and she spent a lot of time supporting me in the roles that I had to do. She gave me a lot of advice. I think on a number of occasions she was pulling her hair out because I didn't quite get it right, but she supported me, and I think a lot of things that I do now are a result of how she's helped me develop as an individual and also as a manager. So not one single piece of advice, but one single person that's influenced me is Margaret Hicks. It's not a sport that you just work on one day and walk away. High performance sport, once you get involved with it, it is your life, because people take part in sport on bank holidays, take part in sport at weekends. So if you're coming into high performance sport, it's not the sort of sport that you can easily think, well, I'll not do it this weekend because I've got something else on. You have to be committed, and you have to be willing to work hard to succeed. It's a great life to be involved in sport because you feel part of the successes, and you're around when things aren't working out too well to support people. But it's a great work to be involved with high performance sport. And I've enjoyed it. Sometimes I've pulled my hair out, but I still enjoy it. I think the people that have inspired me, I've been inspired by Muhammad Ali in the way that he conducted himself in sport. And when I was growing up, one of my heroes was a guy called Valery Bortsov, a sprinter, and I thought he was the best ever in the way that he could double up in his events. Since I've been involved in sport, there's a number of people that have inspired me. Sebastian Coe, because when he was competing, a Sheffield lad, I was also competing and for the Dorothy Hyman Track Club in Sheffield. And the way he's developed in his sport and the things he's gone on to do in 2012, and also now being the president of the IAAF, those things have inspired me, and I'm sure he's inspired other people. So I think for people, athletes or young people looking at people for inspiration, it's when somebody competes well, when somebody loses well, and even if they're not happy that they've lost, it's how they conduct themselves and the message they send out to people. Didn't perform very well in that particular event, but they're not aggressive about it. They express that they're unhappy about it, but they do it with dignity and pride, and you don't give up. When you're in high performance sport, you don't give up, because you don't win the first time, you don't win the second time, you might go a number of times before you win, but you keep going, and that's what high performance sport is.